Hey, my name's Cam, and welcome to Cam Are You Serious? All right. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about something that many of us may struggle with, which is overthinking. As a reformed overthinker, I just wanted to give my tips and tricks on how I overcame overthinking so that I can get more stuff done. So let's get right into it. Okay, so I will find myself in these like endless thought loops and then find myself thinking even more, trying to outthink them, if that makes any sense. So I'll be like stressed out or just have a lot to do, and I'll just be sitting here, like, not necessarily here, but I'll just be in thought, lost in thought for like hours, trying to figure things out instead of doing something. Yeah, yeah. Even this video. Okay, so I was overthinking in this endless thought loop where I would just sit and think about things for hours and not do anything. And my action was overthinking. So I'm sitting here trying to stop overthinking, but in the process, I'm still thinking, trying to think my way out of overthinking, if that makes any sense whatsoever. If you're an overthinker, it may make sense to you. And if you're not that type of overthinker, it's okay. Stay with me. We're going to get to you. We're going to get to you. I promise we are. Um, but yeah, I just realized that I was just stuck in my head a lot, and I knew that that wasn't productive and it wasn't getting me anywhere to where I needed to be. It wasn't moving me forward. It was just honestly leaving me feeling drained and tired. And then I wouldn't do anything. And then like the cycle would repeat. So what I realized, I was overthinking and underdoing. I would be thinking to myself like, okay, let me just think about this a little bit more. And then that process will leave me just drained and tired. Um, and then at the end of the day, it would just leave me not doing nothing. So then one day I caught myself in one of these overthinking thought loops, and I got the idea as I was thinking that thinking is not doing. It's not. And before I had that realization, I thought it was. And I thought that thinking more would help me to stop overthinking. It's not. It's just a habit. And the more you continue to go down the thought rabbit hole and run yourself ragged doing that, you're going to feel worse, and you're going to continue the cycle of overthinking. You're never going to think your way out of it. You're never going to think enough to where it's like, I'm satisfied. I've overthought about it. Either you're going to get tired and burnt out and frustrated and then have to shift your focus to something else, or it's not going to get you nowhere. You're not going to do anything. Telling yourself you're going to think about it a little bit more as an overthinker, stop. Just stop. I know it's hard, but you're just gonna have to stop and shift your focus, because you will stay stuck like that, thinking like that, for way longer than what you should have. I know, because I've done it. I've sat in my bed literally and thought about something for like hours, and to the point where I just had to take a nap because I stressed myself out. So please, I would advise you to take the advice. Just stop. In that moment, when you realize that you're overthinking, just stop, because doing more thinking is doing more harm than good in that moment. So now, to break that overthinking habit, I guess you could say, because pretty much you developed a habit of overthinking because you do it all the time. Even if you don't want to, you might kind of find yourself kind of ruminating or overthinking about a situation. So a good thing, or something that I found helpful for myself, is that when I catch myself doing that, I use that as a cue to actually take action. So let's say you have like 15 things to do, and you're trying to figure out a plan, and you're just kind of overthinking or stressed out about something. In that moment, when you realize that you're stressing out and you realize that you're overthinking, try to be conscious and catch yourself in that moment and think, as crazy, or it might not sound crazy, but in that moment when you catch yourself overthinking, use that as a cue to be like, oh, I'm overthinking. Use that when you catch yourself overthinking, use that as a cue to take action. For me, when I take action, it interrupts that overthinking like thought loop. So if I'm taking action, I don't really have time to overthink. So let's say you have like 15 things to do. If you can just do, like, even if one of them was like take out the trash, right? You can just go ahead and go do that at that moment. That's one less thing to think about. And then you already kind of have like a little win under your belt. So you can kind of keep the momentum going into doing instead of thinking, because thinking, again, like we said in the beginning, thinking is not doing. Now, it's okay, to think about things that actually need thought. But the point is, we're trying to get away from being in our head so much and being present. And in that moment when you realize that you're not being present and you are overthinking, just stop and do something. Even if you have to stop and do a couple of push ups, sit ups, the point is you need to break that loop, that cycle that you kind of have on autopilot in the background of overthinking. You have to interrupt that little pattern that you have going on. So, in those moments, instead of staying stuck in that thought loop, I just decide, okay, I'm drowning in my thoughts here. Let me just go do something. It could be anything. Even if you have to like leave whatever environment that you're in that moment, do it. Break up the energy. You know, if you realize that you were in your room just kind of overthinking, or I'm just gonna assume that you're overthinking at home, but you could be at work or whatever. If you can just take like a quick little break and just go do something totally different to get you out of your head, that would be best in that moment. But if you can't, obviously, just like I said, just do something small so that you're able to, or just breaking up the energy. Okay. The second tip I have is to avoid over consuming content. I feel like that plays into overthinking. Um, I feel like it just overloads your brain even more than it already is, and stressing you out even further, leading you to not take any more action than you already were. So if you were already overthinking, over consuming content is just like overkill to your brain in those moments when you're overthinking. So don't do it. Or even if it's helpful content, like I would say like this, but not really like this. More so like I'm talking about short form content. Like if you thought to yourself, okay, I know I'm overthinking, let me look up a video. Don't overconsume the content. Take the tips from the video, apply them. If they work for you, great. If they don't, then find, maybe some other tips or a different video that might work. But the point is, in in those moments of overthinking, do not, or trying to find a solution to overthinking, don't overconsume content, because that in itself is in a way like overthinking, because it's like if you watch like, let's say 15, I don't think you're gonna watch 15 videos, but like if you watch like 5 to 7 videos about overthinking, you're the focus has shifted. Now it's not really on overthinking, but now it's on all of the information that you just collected from all these videos. Moving on, I think y'all get the point. All right, my third tip for overcoming overthinking is meditation. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was bullshit. And I did do it before, but I never realized how it correlated to overthinking. But after doing it for, I want to say it took maybe, I'm gonna say like about a week. About a week. I'm not gonna say like the first day I did. No, when I first tried meditating, I hated it. I absolutely hated it, because I had my attention span to just focus on nothing or do nothing was very low. And when I first did it, if I'm being honest, just trying to clear my head or just focus on my breath, it was really hard because, again, overthinking. I would be in my head thinking, instead of trying to clear my head. So that kind of made it hard in the beginning. But once I got past that and really just kept kind of redirecting my thoughts back to just focusing on breathing in the moment, I did notice that when things did come up that were stressful, or when those moments would come up where I would usually overthink, I was able to kind of observe more, if that makes sense. Like almost like I was in a backseat type of thing. Like I'm obviously in my body, but like almost like I had like, I kind of took like a little backseat and was just observing what I was experiencing versus automatically reacting to it and kind of just being gone with the wind, or just taking wherever my thoughts want to take me and just going in every direction. I was more so able to see the thoughts for what they were and was like, oh, I could go ahead and overthink, or oh, yeah, I could stress out about that, but, you know, I really don't have to kind of take that thought and act on it, if that makes sense. So I was able to be more aware and observe my thoughts. Tip number 4 is write things down. For me, you could always write it on your phone, you can always type it, but for me, I like writing things down like on paper with a pen, pencil, whatever, you want to use. it helps to actually visually see it for me when I write it on paper. And then also, I think it kind of helps me to get out of my head because I have to actually physically write it out on paper. So if that's something that you want to do, you could try it. Like I said, if you're not a type of person that wants to actually write things out, you're free to type it out or type it in your notes on your phone and just kind of write out a little to-do list or jot down the things that are on your mind. So you could either just write like a little list of things to do, or you can actually journal and just kind of thought dump onto paper. That also helps. And that's also another thing just to kind of get you out of your head and then just get those thoughts out. So there's nothing to stress yourself out to overthink about if you're getting it out. It's not just in your head. You get the thoughts on paper, or if you have like a lot of things to do, writing them out and kind of actually getting a plan together instead of like thinking about a plan. I feel like that would be helpful for you to actually write those things out and write them down. If I'm overthinking, I'll think in my head like, oh, I got so many things to do, and then I write it out and I realize it's not that much. Or if I do write it out and it is a lot of things, I can actually come up with a plan to break those things down into manageable steps or manageable tasks to where I'm like, okay, I can do this, this, and this. Cool. And there's nothing to overthink because now I made a quick plan to start doing. The thing is, we're trying to get away from thinking and being in our head so much and doing. So write down the things that you need to do. And also, if there's something that you can't immediately do about whatever the situation is that you're overthinking about it is definitely not helping the situation as much as you want to believe that it is. So it's best just to, again, focus on something else that you can do or can control, because it's not going to leave you feeling good just to continue to overthink about something that you can't do anything immediately about anyway. One of the things that helped me the most out of everything, I could say, is doing. So instead of overthinking, like I said, when you catch yourself in that loop of overthinking or you catch yourself overthinking, take that as a sign like, oh, I'm overthinking. Let me go do something. When I start doing and kind of like stopping myself in that habit and that cycle of overthinking and went to go take action about the thing I was overthinking about, let's say I was procrastinating about making this video, I'll stop. I'll get things together to go work on that. Yeah, I might not have been able to record the video at that very moment, for example, but I can do an outline for the video. I can make notes. You can make notes for the video. You can, go get the equipment set up and, laid out, or you can go pick out an outfit that you're going to wear for the video. Just take action towards whatever the situation is that you're overthinking about if you can. If you can't, then obviously maybe something else might help, like meditation or reading or exercising, to find a different way to like de-stress and get out of your head, or journaling. But if you can take action, definitely that is going to stop a lot of the overthinking because you're doing. So when I shifted from thinking to doing, that helped. And I know it sounds so simple, but as someone who used to overthink so much, in those moments, I did not think about this. I did not, it's not that I didn't think doing would do anything or taking action. It's just that I was so in my head to where nothing else was at the forefront of my mind to do anything. It was just more so my thoughts. So that's why I'm saying that. And to just wrap up the whole video, it's not necessarily about trying to get rid of the overthinking thoughts. It's more so about doing something about them, and just shifting your focus to action. You want to be more action focused if you find yourself overthinking. At least for me, that's what helped. And the last thing that I have to say is the real work starts once the video stops. So please go ahead and take action and do those things that you know you need to do so that you don't overthink. Yeah. And all I have to say is, you guys might ask, Cam, are you serious? Yes. Yes, I am. I'll catch y'all in the next one, my baby. Bye.